All I'm saying is that somehow, brothers and sisters out there in TV land, we have got to start circling the wagons, closing ranks around any brother, any sister who is doing something to increase the economic status of black people as a group. We got to make Ray Overton, we got to make the brother who owns the company that produced these flags, Brother Roy Carroll was here a little while ago, and I have to do things like this because we had refreshments early on, and the people who furnished the refreshments was Morgan Park Grocery furnished the refreshments. Cookie Man, and I always get his name wrong, but anyway, Freddie's Gourmet Cookies furnished the cookies, and we got other things. But the point I'm making is all black brothers and sisters, the cups down there were presented to us by M&R Grill, which is a restaurant on 111th Street in Morgan Park. Brothers and sisters, we've got to develop an entrepreneurial class, somebody who almost can do something out of nothing. That's a real entrepreneur is somebody who creates and just comes up with something, and he insists that he's going to succeed and he's going to make it work, and he don't care what nobody says, that he keeps working on it until he makes it work, and many of them wind up making millions of dollars. Blacks even make millions of dollars being an entrepreneur. It's very few, if any, blacks who make $1 million being on a job. In fact, I've had people to tell me that there is no such thing as a good job. I agree with them. That if you want to really make it in life, what you have to do is be an entrepreneur. You've got to manufacture something, you've got to service something, or you got to sell something. And I won't let anybody talk to me about the strange activities of brothers and sisters who are selling something, because I tell them, sell something. It's better than nothing. Now, you know that I don't want brothers selling drugs. You know I don't want sisters selling themselves. But as a group, we have got to find a way to service everything that we need. We've got to manufacture. You know, we're sitting in this audience and we're sitting on chairs. You can't tell me that you have to be a rocket scientist to manufacture a chair or a table or a flag or print a book or make a sign or make some glasses, the frames, some clothes, some crowns. Think about it. You make other people think that they must be the smartest people in the world, that they have to furnish you with everything, that you can't furnish nothing. I made the statement at the high school that I talked to the other day, Simeon, that the man who invented the shoe lasting machine was black. And yet you can't manufacture shoes. That's weird that you invented the calendar. And I know black brothers and sisters who have businesses and they hand out calendars every holiday season, and they have white folks to produce these calendars for them. You wouldn't know what day it was if it wasn't for your ancestors. They watched the moon and the stars, and they said, hey, the sun seems to pass here every day at the exact same time. So all we have to do is kind of put something like this, and the shadow falls there, and we know it's 12 o'clock. Well, we don't call it 12 o'clock. Then we didn't know nothing about 12 o'clock. We just call it midday. And then we put off and put off and put off, and the next thing you know, we had a sundial. And that told us the time of the day. And then the floods would come every so often, and we started figuring it out. God, they come about the same time over 365 days or so or something, and let's figure that out. And the next thing you know, they had the whole calendar thing worked out. Now, you can't even make calendars? You understand? There's something wrong with that. And I'm going to keep talking this until you get tired of hearing it. And many of you are already tired of hearing Nahaz. You know, they say things like, Nahaz, every time you talk, you're saying the same thing. They're talking about all that we ought to be manufacturing stuff and we ought to be growing stuff and all that kind of stuff. Shoot, we don't know about that. You know, we like to have fun, and we just wants to go to church on Sunday and shout and pray and go to prayer meeting. And you know, Nahaz, you know everything will be all right if you just go to church regular and pray and sing. And if you did, you just don't understand, do you? Because you don't have faith. And see, we have faith. Now, we may be poor, but we have faith. I say, I don't want faith. I want some money. I want some wealth. I want what other people take money and turn it into. And that's what I want. And that's what I want for you. That's what I want for all my relatives and friends and all African people all over the globe. I want them to understand what wealth is. Wealth is what you take money and buy land on which you might find oil or diamonds or coal or gold, and that's what wealth is, the ownership of something. The ownership of the ability to produce something. The ownership of the land on which you can grow something. There's a brother in the audience that I taught him how to grow vegetables in his backyard. And now he feeds the multitude. Can you understand that that makes more sense to me than some pork chop preacher standing up in the pulpit talking all that nonsense, and at the end or before he finishes, some of them I notice that they won't preach until they've passed the hat. And I say cold goose, that if you need $5 from me or $10 from me, or you want me to sign up and tithe and give you money every week or every month, that I'm getting the impression that you ain't doing nothing for me, but I'm doing a lot for you. And I'm not going to do it anymore. Well, I never did do it and never intend to start. I wouldn't give one of them a quarter. Now, there are people in here who know that I'm writing checks constantly helping people. I wrote a check for a sister to send her son overseas to do some studying. And another check for a sister who is in a local private school, because the school she was in, they was beating her up every day. You know why they was beating her up every day? Because she was cute. That's why they was beating her up every day. How do I know that? That's what she told me. They told her. That's why they was beating up. And she couldn't go to the public school, which is a block and a half from her house, because they would beat her up because she was cute. So now she's going to a private school, and I have to send her $50 every now and then because they have a little place where they keep some money for the girls so that they can buy books and, you know, I don't know what they buy, but whatever they buy. I'm saying to this group, in the studio audience, in the general public viewing audience, let's, us Africans, see, I'm talking to Africans, talking about Africans, let's get our heads in some books that would make us be entrepreneurs.